Good?
Ready.
Welcome to the Mike and Brett Show. We're excited to be back in your living rooms, in your cars. I hope you're not driving while you're watching, or wherever you may be, any of the 7 continents. We are happy to be back in your living room tonight.
Absolutely. Man, it's kind of cold out here.
I want to get some more. Oh, what?
Huh.
Wow.
Look at that.
Look,
Where did these come from?
it says the Mike and Brett Show. It must be real. Man, I'll tell you what, these guys look good.
They do.
I look good, you look good, we
I look
look
really
good,
good.
we look
Yes.
really good. Hey, there will be a Mike and Brett Show store in the future where you'll have an opportunity to sip the goodness out of this warm cup of Joe.
Cup of Joe?
Cup of Joe.
Okay.
So, yes, and who made these mugs for us? Who designed them?
Jessica Manuel designed these.
Shout out to Jessica.
Thank you. And Mr. Shutterfly was the one who actually.
And Mr. Shutterfly, was so impressed, he actually signed his name
Yes.
personally on the bottom of the mugs.
Yes.
I think I just gave away there was nothing in the mug.
No Joe after all.
No Joe after all. Hey, we're glad you're here. We got a special guest you're about to be introduced to in just a few seconds. I want to give you a reminder, though. You want to stay tuned all the way through the end of the show. We have a special prize giveaway that you have a chance to win, big time.
Yeah.
But the interview is about 20 minutes long here, but I tell you what, it's really good.
Yes.
I think you'll really enjoy listening to the content and the message of it. And enjoy.
All right, this.
All right, let's do it
Okay.
again. All right.
Are you comfy?
I'm good.
I am super comfortable. We are having a blast. This is Dr. Parsons' back porch.
Mi casa, su casa.
And we are coming to you with Mr. Rick Weinheimer. He is an awesome guy. He taught for 39 years. Was it all Columbus North High School or not?
Partly at North Side. Then I went to
Northside.
North, yep.
Okay,
Wow.
yeah. And, well, you're the language arts
Chair.
Department chair.
Department
Department
chair when
chair
I
for
was there
years.
as well.
Yeah.
Yes. So not only was he a teacher, but he was also the head cross-country coach, and he found himself recently. What year were you inducted?
2004.
2004. He was inducted into the Indiana High School Hall of Fame for coaching. So
And that's a big deal.
It's
That's
a
a huge deal.
Yeah, Hall of Famer right here.
And when Brett and I first got together and we started wanting to having guests, we both said the first person we wanted to have on was Rick Weinheimer.
Yes. 39 years. That seems like a long time.
Because that's 39 years is older than both Brett and I are currently right now. So he taught longer than we've been alive.
Yeah.
And I feel really good being here. I feel honored to be the first guest
Yes.
ever, but more honored than you know. And I don't know if people know this, but I may be the biggest fan of this show. I've watched
Thank you, Rick.
every single episode.
Which has only been
Every-
3, but we appreciate
Okay,
that.
but one I watched twice because
Yeah.
I knew there were supposed to be jokes and I didn't get them the first time, so
Yeah.
I kind of watched maybe didn't get them the second time, but
Awesome.
I've watched all 3 episodes. I've watched one of them twice. I'm really honored to be here. I feel like I know these people that are really special to me. You know, I want to thank Mark for having me here and Brent for having me
thank
here
you.
too. And I'm proud to be on the Mark and Brent show and be the first guest on this thing. They're kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you said that you're our biggest fan because my wife thinks that I'm our biggest fan. And
That's interesting. Arlene says the only person that cares about the Mike and Brett show is Mike and Brett.
yeah, she's like, "Why are you watching this?" This
Oh,
is
Mike
the
and
10th
Brett. Did I get those
Yeah,
wrong?
that's
It's
okay.
not Mark and Brent?
That's right.
Okay, I'm a fan.
You'll figure it
Big
out.
fan.
Hey, well, we do appreciate you being here. And kind of walk us through what you've been going through after retirement, which is 2 years ago. Is that correct?
That's
or a year
right.
and a half ago. And I know that you started basically a business, and maybe some people call it consulting, where you're helping other leaders grow through everyday excellence. Yeah. So explain kind of what that looks like and what that journey has been for you over the last year and a half.
Here's a little bit of the why to start it. My dad was a 40-year teacher, very dedicated math teacher, fell asleep every night grading papers in the chair, just like so many teachers we know and work with. And we all thought, what's he going to do when he retires? It's his whole life. And when my dad retired, he started doing a lot of volunteer work. He drove cancer patients to their treatments and took them to lunch. He started teaching algebra to 4th graders at an Indianapolis elementary school. And that was such a great model for me because when he finished this world that he had loved, he moved on to something else to make a difference in people's lives. And
That's great.
one of the great things about being an educator is every day when we wake up, we got a chance to make a difference in people's lives. And so I knew it was time for me maybe to transition in my life, and I knew I wanted to transition to something where I still had a chance to make a difference with people. And so, I have no business background. I'm a teacher who's a child of a teacher, so I've kind of learned the business world a little bit, but I started a company called Everyday Excellence, and that's really its foundation. What's most important to you, and how do you apply yourself to getting better at those few things every single day? No matter how messy the world is, no matter how big your to-do list is, how do you make the things that are important to you get better every day? And I've had a chance for 2.5 years to work with schools and teams and businesses and nonprofits and Job Corps and Ivy Tech, and it's been a real blessing.
But you've traveled some too.
And I used to tell them, when my wife married me, I said, I'm going to show you the world. That's why you want to marry me. And you know what? She got to go to Batesville, Seymour, on special occasions, Terre Haute.
Right.
And so I traveled a lot, but it was always on a big yellow bus with 60 teenagers. And so I have had a chance to work in Louisville, Chicago, St. Louis. I got to go to Anaheim, California last April. And so for a guy that lived a very different type of life, I'm living the good life now. And it's great to get to work with people.
That's fantastic. And really, right now you're reaching the climax of your career because you're on this show. And that's really, I would be shocked if you're not going to be in Europe within weeks after this airs.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of, once again, you're about to become a big deal.
Yeah, I have a passport. If you're watching and you need me somewhere, I have a passport. I am ready. I had the dog can go to the kennel.
That's good.
I got a passport.
I like that. So you talked about your father, and it seems like what an amazing legacy he left for you, not only as a young man becoming a man, but then how you became a father and then a leader of men within your cross country team, and now a leader of leaders. How have you taken that gift, you could say, that he's given you of modeling and being able to give that to others, whether it's through your company or even through the young men and women that you coached in Columbus?
I think that's a great question. And my dad was a quiet guy. My dad did not give us lessons by sitting us down and lecturing us, or at dinner he didn't carry on about, he was a quiet man. But the model that he set was amazing. And he's been gone now for several years, but I still apologize because I had him in class. He's my calculus teacher when I was 17 years old and thought I knew everything about life, and maybe I didn't act and behave in his class how I would like, but now I'm so thankful for the model that he set. And so I think he just showed the way of living it with your heart. The relationships were really powerful. The year he was retiring, I took a personal day, and I went up. He taught at North Central in Indianapolis, and I spent the day just watching him teach one more time. And the thing that struck me was at the end of every class period, the bell would ring. Kids are getting ready to run to their next class, and their high school students. They all walked right by his desk, and they said, "Goodbye, Mr. Weinheimer," on their way out. And that's what it's about. We're not just here for a short time in their lives. We have relationships with them. We care about them long term, and I think that's one of the big lessons I got from my dad.
Perfect.
We both got to hear you at the beginning of the school year.
Yep.
Was that a principal meeting?
It was a principal's meeting, and I believe Dr. Hack had you come in and just kind of a pep talk per se. But yeah, it was the beginning of the year, had a huge impact on us.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were talking about legacy, and I felt like this is what I took from it was, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, 39 years later, you don't get to decide what your legacy is. It's the moments, it's who's watching, who's living it with you. That's your legacy, and that really stuck with me. And because you said you have a lot of people ask you what your legacy is, and or how would you perceive your legacy, and so I guess my question is, for those of us living it right now, what are the things that we can do to really hone in on that?
Good question.
Here's why it's difficult, because you're so stinking busy all the time. And one of the blessings of being in retirement, my life has slowed down. And so all the lessons I was learning as an educator, I've now had a chance to look back on and think about.
Right.
You're in the trenches. You know,
Yeah.
all of our teacher friends, they're in the trenches every day. And they're just trying to get everything done. And there's so many demands. And they're actually having a bigger impact than they ever know. But you're so busy you don't have much time to think about it. And so I like to mention it just because by the time you get to be this age, and I'm, you know, somewhere between 60 and 100, you realize you've done your legacy. Right. And it was all those days when I was so busy. You know, boy, I hope I did the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
So now I'm trying to talk to youngins like you and say, do your best to be intentional that those are the right things. Those are the most important things you want to be remembered for. Everyone is going to have a legacy. Everyone. Is it becoming what you want it to be?
And that legacy. So I didn't know you, Rick, until 2 years ago, and really didn't know you that well until a few months ago. And getting to hear you talk more. I'm not from Columbus, and those of you know that 7 states, whatever, 20-some houses, 13 schools, and Brett is not from Columbus as well. And to see the impact that you've had on us, because we look for those people that provides a foundation to look to that we can become. And you mentioned some things about building your legacy and sustaining your legacy, but sometimes when we're in the trenches, as you said, it's hard to feel like we're building a legacy. And when we look around us, we feel like hope is lost and things are too hard to continue forward. And it's so easy to find every negative voice out there to bring us down too. Because my theory is it is so easy to grab people and pull them down to the level that they're at than to climb and get to the level of where someone else is at. People envy people who want to be successful or want to be wildly optimistic and love others just for who they are as a person. And I find myself in those trenches sometimes just wanting to be negative. And wanting to put myself down or find someone and say, well, I hope Lincoln doesn't do as well because of this. And I have to check myself because that's not healthy for anyone. So what advice would you give someone that is often struggling with that ebb and flow of keeping our eyes forward and staying positive?
Well, I think number one is find the people in your world that are truly positive and spend significant time with them. And there are lots of people that can be your acquaintances, or if we're on Facebook, you can call them friends. But you know, your true friends are really the people that will be positive with you, that will bring you hope when you need hope, encouragement when you need encouragement. And in our world, I'll be honest with you, I had a lot of students like that, you know, who brought the positive part to my world. And I'm thankful for that. Not just my colleagues, but also students that showed me the way on those days I was struggling a little bit. But it is hard, and probably every generation to say that. My mom was a child of the Depression, but I still think this may be one of the hardest times to be positive. Our world is real adversarial and angry, and we don't argue ideas now, we argue personalities, and we want to rise above that. But number one thing is find the people that really truly bring positive energy to your life and respect them and spend time with them and follow their lead.
And it's interesting you talk about today, you go back to the Depression age and the difficulties that was. We're now coming up on almost 90 years ago, and that I agree, this is a difficult time. And I think it was Newsweek put out a new research article this week that said the average teenage person is online, so on the internet, 53 hours a week. 53 hours a week, and not only that attention span, but just where are they getting that hope? Where are they getting that desire to work on their self? So I don't need Rick to define who I am.
Correct.
Right? But I'm also not falsely defining myself just to make myself feel better.
And that also goes into how you portray yourself. You know, it's the snapshot. This is my life. You know, and how do we? Any advice on that? Because how do we get to kids? Because we talk about all the time at school, public is permanent, you know, and you put that on there, and then getting that intrinsic feeling of like, this is who I am and feeling confident, you know. Any ideas on that?
I think, awareness is a big part of it, right, to begin with, and I think we need continual reference to those things. And the thing I'm thinking about social media often is like it was funny, like you did this little cool intro for me, and Rick's in the Hall of Fame, and that a big deal. That's kind of like your Facebook profile, social media, where people they look at what I put on there and think, oh, wow, he's got it made. His life is great. Isn't that awesome? And I think they don't understand that beneath all that, we've all had our struggling times,
Sure.
our difficult times. Quick story, because you mentioned, got to be a Hall of Fame coach, but my first year coaching was a long time ago in the 70s, and cross country at that stage ran a lot of one team versus one team, a lot of what they call
Sure.
dual meets. And my first year I coached, the first 3 weeks we lost all 5 of the meets that we ran, and I started to wonder if we'd ever win anything with me as a cross country coach. And then Martinsville was on the schedule, and I looked the year before, and they graduated a bunch of people, and I thought, okay, this is it. We're going to finally win one. And we went over to Martinsville, and we were ready to rock and roll, and they pounded us. They just pounded us. And afterwards, I knew I needed to go talk to the guys, but I couldn't go quite away. And I sat down on the curb near their high school and just put my head in my hands like, are we ever going to be able to beat anybody?
Right.
And all of a sudden, I felt this presence next to me, and it was the Martinsville coach, guy named Barry Maxwell, guy that I had just met. And he said to me, man, you look discouraged. And he said, you know what, though? I watch you with the kids. You're doing the right things. You guys are presenting yourselves the right way. You're working hard at it.
Right.
It's all going to be okay. Just trust me and keep working at it. And I think, how often do we have a chance maybe to bring that kind of hope to somebody
Sure.
else? And he didn't do that so that 40 years later I'd be on the Mark and Brent show, as the first guest. He just wanted to help my world, be a little bit of encouragement to me. And can we find people every day that we can do that for?
That's interesting, and there's so much of that in athletics. Yeah. Athletics is one of the greatest teachers out there. The pursuit of excellence in athletics, and my college coach always talked about the pursuit of excellence, and how hard it is to become great at something, and how overused that word is.
Yeah.
Everything just seems to be great, and we've
Yeah.
kind of cheapened it. But that pursuit of excellence is really hard to do if you want to become great at something. And I had a similar person my first year as an assistant principal, and it was deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Survival. Beyond overwhelming. Assistant principal.
And everybody expects so much from
Yes.
you. Yeah.
And you don't know half of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But there's, it's a middle school, 700 kids, and I was also the AD, full-time AD. And it was overwhelming. And the person I replaced, his name was Mark Du Bois, and he's now an assistant superintendent up north. But went out of his way that entire first quarter to almost come to every event to make sure I ran that first football event well. I ran the first cross country meet, the first soccer, all of it. I make sure I knew what I was doing, and he wanted me to be so successful, and I replaced him. And so often we have people that don't want you to be better than them coming out next. And he taught me a valuable lesson: the power of making other people be more successful than what you were. And I felt that in my job at Clifty Creek, and when we just went through and hired a new assistant principal, and I said, I want to find someone that I truly believe will be better than what I am at. And to be able to do that and then go forward and pay it forward like you do was almost a life-changing moment for me in leadership, because I saw what excellence really should look like.
Yeah. You said Mark, and it totally just clicked with me. I was thinking about Mark Newell, principal of Columbia East, and I had a moment with, I think it's been 3 or 4 years ago, I had a student pass away during the school year due to flu. And I remember it was the longest day I've had. And I know that, and want to preface that and say, I know that pales in comparison to what that family went through for that day and continuing on. But I remember when Dr. Roberts walked in that morning, and Larry Perkinson was there, and we walked every teacher through that and talked with them. And then we talked through all of that with our staff, and then I called every parent in that class to say, hey, this is what you're gonna hear about tomorrow, tonight, and I need you to have this conversation with the kids. And I I had to come up with what I was going to say that next day. And I remember sitting, everybody was gone, long hours. I'm sitting in my office, and I have, just by myself, I'm looking at a blank computer screen. And then all of a sudden I look at my phone, and Mark Newell's calling me. And I look out on my cameras. You've seen my office. It's
Yep. I've been in your
control
office.
center. I got cameras everywhere. And Mark Newell's standing outside that school, and he goes, "Let me in." And Mark, unfortunately, has been through this many times. But in what was the darkest day of my career, he was able to talk me through how to get through that next day. And he taught me a lot about, and really stemmed from that, is that, those families are going to need me. We have to, inspire hope and love. And that's where we kind of talked about, we're going to love all of these kids like I think that's what I said, was that we have siblings here that are missing a sibling today. And we have kids that are missing buddies and friends, and we're going to have to love on each other. And it really kind of pushed me.
Right.
So, Mark didn't do that for any acclaim, and he just showed up and didn't know I was going to be there. He just took an action. That's not on the way home from Columbus East for him. Yeah. He's a good guy.
Very powerful.
And so, Rick, I want to give you the last word here before we wrap up. But one thing I want to encourage you to do is you heard those, you heard 3 different stories about how people have helped shape who we are as people and as leaders. And I know that there are multiple people that have also shaped you and grown you and who you've become today. And one of the best ways we can sometimes do that is just tell them that and to honor them that and show that level of appreciation. So take an opportunity on the bottom of this Facebook page and write them a note, tag them in it, and let them know what you've done for them and what you've meant to them. Because spreading that kindness is a big thing. Yep. And I'm sure Mark is aware of that, and the cross-country coach in Martinsville. But sometimes people have made impact on your life, and they may not even know the magnitude of it. Yeah. So take a moment and share that out on our Facebook page so that they can see that. But Rick, last question is going to come to you. And if you were to address a group of young leaders, and they said, what's the most important thing that we can be doing right now to make the biggest impact on the lives of others, what would you tell them?
That was a loaded question, wasn't it?
No pressure.
Man, that was a good one.
And we didn't give him the questions beforehand. We're going on the fly.
So I want to take back the part about feeling honored. Now I feel on the spot. I think one of the things I've discovered since I retired is I've gotten notes, emails from, they aren't kids anymore, they're grown-ups. Yeah. But the ones that surprised me most have been kids that I thought maybe I missed on, that I never really got the perfect connection with. And yet they've lived a little bit more life, and some time has passed, and they've realized some of the things you've worked with them on made sense once they got older. And I'm real appreciative of those ones like that. And so I guess what I would say to leaders, but I would say to anybody watching this, is you, in the situation you're in right now, in your world, in your life, you can make a significant difference with people. Believe it, have faith in it, do it with great strength. And you may not find out right away. You may not get a thank you immediately, but it makes a difference in the world, and it spreads and grows, and someday you may get a realization of that, and I think you will. That's what we need to do for each other.
That's great. It's a good mic drop there to finish off there, Rick.
Thank you.
Well, we do appreciate you will always be known as the first official guest.
Celebrity guest.
Celebrity guest, yes, on the Mike and Brett show. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely. When I get home, I'm going to get out my bucket list and cross off, be on the Mike and Brett show, because now I've done
Number 1 on the bucket list.
That's right.
Yeah.
I can move on from here. And so those of you in Europe that might need me, that's next on my bucket list. So give me a call.
Awesome. Hey, we appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
No, okay.
Okay,
Well, hey, I hope you enjoyed that really a discussion with Rick. We think he's an outstanding person. And what we talked about was we had a prize to kind of explain to you about watching this show. So what we're going to do is, if you will like our Facebook page, the Mike and Brett Show Facebook page, and share this video on Facebook. So like our Mike and Brett Show Facebook page and share this video. You will be in the running, or the drawing, I should say, for a $25 Amazon gift card. And we'll draw that at random next show.
On the show.
On the show, yeah. It'll be real big time. So all you have to do is like the show and share the video, and you'll be in the drawing.
Yeah. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, who doesn't want to watch the show?
We usually fist bump at the end, but I think it's appropriate.
Oh yes.
Have a good week.